Welcome to Witchcast!
Cause it's Witchcast!
I'm Emily.
I'm Kate.
And we're your co-hosts of this, the Witchcast podcast.
That's right, we're your learning, growing, ever-evolving novice witches here to explore everything under the woo-woo, esoteric, slightly spooky, slightly paranormal, slightly pagan, which have you, umbrella.
Which have you, umbrella?
Which have you, umbrella.
Yes, that's exactly correct. And this is our new season. We're back.
Woo-woo! Season 7.
Season 7.
What?
I said our new season because I couldn't remember it. I was like, this can't be season 6.
That's
it's got to be
wild.
7. That's wild. And we have a very special guest here today.
That's right.
She is a healer, a Chicana witch, an author of 10 books, a water activist. Please welcome Jamie Della. Hi.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Oh, absolutely.
We're so excited to have you. Oh my gosh. I
can't wait to talk witchcraft.
Okay, yes.
We're thrilled.
All things. There's so many questions already that I have. But first, we talked about your Emily just mentioned your many wonderful titles. How do you describe yourself, and how do you envision yourself within the witch world? I'd love for you to dive in a little deeper. Like, what does it mean for you to be a healer, to be a Chicana witch, to be an incredible author of 10 books and a water activist?
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me, first of all. Thank you for the first question.
Thank you for
pleasure.
Just to explain who I am.
Jumping right in there,
Yeah.
putting you on the spot.
I say a healer first because I'm also a bodywork, a massage therapist, Reiki, and I've always believed in the power of healing. I was raised actually in Christian Science, and that's a metaphysical Christianity that believes in our ability to heal ourselves by seeing ourselves as whole. Chicana witch, I say, in tribute to my matriarchal line, my mitochondrial DNA, my mother's mother, goes all the way back to central Mexico into the Jalisco region, and that's Chicana with the XI. So it's more of an indigenous Mexico. My family, my mitochondrial DNA goes back 7,000 years to Mexico. So for me, that's, even though I'm the first to be white passing in our family, which is a really weird thing, to be able to pass, and wish almost that you could be more gritty. And then, my Mexican grandfather saying, no, you don't, baby. No, you don't. You can be proud in this generation, like we can be proud to be witches in this generation. But being dark skinned has not always been something for people to be proud of. So for me, to reclaim that is as important as reclaiming the word witch, away from the propaganda, away from the negative connotations, and to claim it as a person who is wise and knows how to bend or shape the unseen forces. And so... let's see, a water activist. I'm a water activist because I believe all witches are activists because we honor the elements. We revere them. They are part of our practice. The nature is a big part of at least my practice. And it's so important to me. So for me to stand up and do the physical work as well as the spiritual work for blessing the waters or the earth or the air, or even our fire, to be like, okay, let's contain this. Yeah, I live in California. We're containing fire is a big deal right now. And so.
And so is conserving water.
Yes, and so is conserving water. And so for me, it's always been a part of my, just my belief system that the way we honor our relationship with the earth as one member of a huge society, the way we honor our water and bless it before we drink, and all the fun things that we can do to incorporate that relationship with the earth as our body, and water our blood, and air our breath, and fire our spirit, and to always sing those songs and know that truth. That's who I am. Really, I'm a bear. What is it? What do I used to call myself? A tree hugging, dirt worshiper, barefoot priestess, witch, wild woman, Wiccan, all the good stuff.
Amazing.
Perfect. Thanks so much for telling us a little bit about yourself. How did you first get involved with magic, would you say?
I would say I first got involved with magic in my 20s when my girlfriends and I started doing house blessings and baby blessings for each other and reading each other's oracles and getting together for full moon ceremonies. But I really believe that for me, you know, like a lot of us, the soil was already there. It was already, the bread was baked, right? We were already barefoot. We were already hugging trees. We were already watching the moon, and we were already, you know, with this silver and making lights go zzz and watches zap, and, you know, all those things were already happening. And I grew up with a grandmother who was a psychic tarot reader. So she told me from the very, very beginning, you know, about 1111 and soul families and reincarnation and how to read, how to use tetramancy. Oh gosh, I forget the name of it. So how to use how to work with energy and spirits and talk to people on the other side. I grew up in a place where my ancestors had lived for over 200 years. And so as soon as I realized that they were there, it was like a light switched on. And since the time I was 8 years old, I could hear these ancestors from 1806, from the early 1800s, talking to me, telling me, tell our story. Nobody knows our story anymore. And so always being around it, always it not being strange to talk to a picture of my grandmother who died the month before I was born and ask her questions, or make a pact with her when I was in my 20s that you send me the scent of old photographs when you want me to pay attention to something, and I'll spray your favorite perfume when I need you. And so I always kind of knew that if I could speak to the spirit world, that I could speak to the tree spirit. I could speak to the flower fairy. I could speak to the consciousness of a river. It wasn't that different when you're raised to believe, like Coco, like the movie Coco, that you could easily talk to your ancestors and you don't have to wait for Halloween. It'll be easier. You know, it's like the line glows through a little clearer, you know, but we were always like, oh, when the phone rings that somebody's calling, you know, from the other side. Oh, when, you know, our family, I grew up in a family that, oh, look at these lights in the photo. You know, that's dad. He came through, or that's, you know, our guardian angels or whatever it is. So there was so much that prepared me for it. But growing up maybe in Orange County in a place, a suburban life that seems very cosseted, I wanted something a lot more edgy, not quite so, I don't know, something that had a little edge to it, that you could maybe sometimes have to walk in the dark, in the mystery, in the unknown, and find your own way. And that's what witchcraft offers, because we are always our own best teacher. So for me, it kind of started in that direction. And then I started attending pagan sabbats, was my first introduction. So that's why so much of my craft relies upon, you know, the 4 elements, the 4 directions, and then the sabbats and the holidays. And always just kind of recognizing them. Like every year, do I put together a big, huge potluck? No. But it varies every year based on what I need, right? Some years you really need the energy of the autumn equinox, for example, as we're recording in that time frame right now. And I'll be going to a retreat and hosting a drawing down the moon ritual for a group of people. And I haven't done that in a while, but I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to holding that sacred space and being the resident Wiccan high priestess for a retreat of people who are primarily looking at 5th dimensional work. Well, how can we live it? Because yes, we're spiritual beings having the human experience, but that's the whole point, is a human experience. A magical human experience, but a human experience nonetheless. So I got started at that point, and then it was literally at my Saturn's return, 26 and a half, where I really started to dive into the witchcraft and into Wicca in particular, and started taking classes at the iconic Eye of the Cat witch shop in Long Beach, and really discerning who I wanted to learn from, what I could take and let go, and really trusting myself to make those decisions versus having to follow everything in a rote way.
Yeah.
You know, allowing the experience to live in me.
Yeah. Yeah, we talk a lot about, you know, it's great to learn, it's great to read, it's great to talk to other people, but ultimately, you know, choosing your own path to a certain degree and like following what works for you, you know?
Yeah.
100%.
And then, so speaking of working with mentors and that kind of thing, you have a new book coming out, and in that you talk about specifically your mentor, Connie DeMasters. Is that, did I say her name correctly? I mean, I think it's
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
Connie DeMasters. Can you tell us? Oh, you got a photo.
Oh my gosh, the hair. That's
Love
beautiful.
that. Can you send us
Is
a picture of
that
that to
crazy?
include on Instagram
We'd
when we
love
post
to
this
post
episode?
her on social, yeah.
Stunning. I
Oh,
love her
yeah.
already.
Mhm.
Ooh, what power I could feel just even through that photo.
Oh,
Can you
I
tell
know,
us a bit
right?
about how you met and what you learned from her or what you learned from each other, you know,
Yeah.
back and forth? Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So in the early 2000s, late 1990s, there was Women's Spirit, Winter Solstice, and Summer Solstice festivals at the Universal Unitarian Church in Long Beach. So this was kind of, it was very, very similar to going to like gay pride, to go to like a pagan pride festival, because, you know, you can't really express yourself in the mainstream world 20 years ago, being on those margins and ostracized. But at these communities, you could just go crazy in whatever vein you wanted. So at the Winter Solstice festivals, it was so amazing because you could find each other and see each other. There's so many more witches now. But back in the day, we used to have to do jewelry checks, you know, where you would look at their jewelry and see if you saw like
Yes.
a stone or, you know, or even like hemp tied up or something. If it was a gold cross, you know, I would tell people, oh, my book, it's a seasonal cookbook. The Wicca cookbook, no, it's seasonal. It's about, you know, farm to table. Same thing.
Same idea.
With a little rich, yeah, exactly. Just one little couple step forwards. But in any case, so we would have to go up to each other and say things like "blessed be," and like, "Oh, does she know?" And like where you, that was like the secret code that we had to use for so long, and we recognized each other. So you would finally come to these festivals, and the revelry, it was like equivalent to a Renaissance fair. It was just so joyous and so happy to finally be wearing our cloaks and our wands and all our crystals, and, you know, just do dances with snakes or whatever we wanted and have this opportunity to celebrate together. So I was at one of this festival in 2001, and 9/11 had just happened. And so it was very frightening to be a witch at that time because it was so different. And so at this point, I had the Wicca cookbook and the teen spell book, and I was signing my books at this festival. And there was this woman that was behind me in another booth, at the Eye of the Cat booth, and I was in Points of Light, and I was signing my book. And I noticed her watching me. You know, you could feel the energy of somebody watching you. And every time someone would come up and was a little curious, like, oh, I don't know if I want to buy this book, I would feel this whoosh of energy, and they'd be like, oh, maybe I'll look at it again. And so they would buy it. And then I remember I walked past her, and she introduced herself to me, and I didn't know who she was. I didn't know she was the elder Wiccan high priestess of a coven. There was just a woman standing there, looked like another witch like all of us. And but a few days later, somehow she had got my phone number, and I still don't know how. And she called me and said, the spirits tell me I'm supposed to teach you. And now I know that we get these messages on Instagram and social media a lot. Like, I got a message from the high spirit. I was drawn to your aura, and I need to give you a reading. Like, that didn't happen 23
Right.
years ago. That wasn't a thing, you know? So if a Wiccan mentor says, I want to give you one-on-one instruction, you just go, okay. What do I bring? And so, you know, my job was to bring a caramel macchiato and a maple nut scone from Starbucks. And that's what I did. And so I
Amazing.
that was my trade. You know what I mean? I would love to trade that for people with for a mentorship. You know what I mean? But on the other hand, I also don't want to eat that many scones. So, so I sat down and I talked to her, and it was literally, you know, we get to this point in life at a certain point, and it's different for everybody, and maybe not everyone feels this way. But when you get into your 50s, you want to be able to give back. You don't want everything you've accumulated to die or to just kind of go to waste. And you want to find someone to share that with, because not only does it keep your legacy going, but it keeps witchcraft going. It's how we kept witchcraft going for thousands of years. was by telling our stories and sharing the wisdom with each other, and a reciprocity, because this person, the mentor, gets to know that their information is going to live on, and the mentee, of course, gets this download of all this amazing information. It's like, here's a wheel, you don't have to invent it. Let me tell you a few things about magical practice. Like one of the things that we would talk about is how important circle magic is, and why we do circle magic, and how being a solitary practitioner is so important, because it tells you, having that moment to know what's important to you, and then maybe you find a group or a coven or somewhere that aligns with your belief systems. And when you do, it's just like the power of 5 candles is stronger than one, or 5 sticks is stronger than one, or whatever it is. And so having that energy of circle magic, and that knowing that the person who sits right across from you is the mirror. I don't know if you've ever noticed that when you're in a circle, it's often that person that's right across from you is the one who says something or does something just like the moon, and reflects something that maybe you were too afraid to say, or maybe if you're like, I don't really like that person, there's something about them, and then you realize, oh my gosh, they keep interrupting people, and that's what I do.
They're showing me something.
Exactly.
Whether I want to see it or not.
Exactly. Yeah. So I had, and I had 2 books to my name by the time I met my mentor. But what happened is I had a lot of energy. I just kind of forced myself. I have, like I said, I'm a Capricorn, so I have cardinal energy. I can start any project. And then after a while, I kind of lose steam sometimes. And so having a mentor that would help me feel strong enough to go into a Barnes and Noble and be on a microphone that's echoing throughout a mainstream store, saying, I'm a witch over here, throw the tomatoes this way, like being able to be that strong.
Come
and sit
hither
down
and
talk
boo
to a
me.
mentor.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Just try it, you wretched urchin. So it was wonderful to be able to have that person that I could also ask questions of, like, just sometimes our magic, it's wonderful, but do you cast a spell to get your child into the right kindergarten? I don't know. Is that appropriate? And just kind of like finding those boundaries when something was really important to me, when it was superficial, when I needed to do a full ritual, when just a little tiny spell would work, just kind of knowing how to moderate energy. I feel like mentors will really help you with that, because they also reflect to you the horizons that you might not even think of reaching, or the ways of being that you don't realize are beautiful, because sometimes we get made fun of for the very things that make us special. And so we grow up with a little PTSD for being a little wacky, for being a little weird. But it's WYRD, which means fated. It's not weird as in strange. It's weird as in fated. It was fated for us to all to be sitting here being witches because of the choices we've made in our lives. So is that weird? Sure, in a wild and wonderful way. And that was one of the first things that she taught me, because I always felt so, we grow up feeling different as witches. Sometimes you don't feel like you fit in. And when someone tells you, hey, baby, that's because it was meant to be, you're going to change things. And you can't fit in. You can't be the person that fits in if you're the one that's going to change. You're going to have to be uncomfortable to create something unfamiliar.
I love
That's
all
such a
this
beautiful
so
idea.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like my heart.
Incredible. So I just need to say it out loud. So your new book coming out is called A Box of Magic. That's coming out with Sounds True. We're recording this prior to its release, but it will be out as of September 26th. So by the time this launches, it should be out and everyone can go get it. We'll talk about where they can get it in a second. But I just wanted to say the name of this book. Yeah, everywhere. Get it everywhere.
Everywhere.
So talk to us. You talked a lot about, you've hinted a lot at different aspects of your practice growing up and today. What does your daily practice look like right now? How often do you practice? What does practicing look like and feel like for you? What are some of your
That was supposed to say, I just realized that our notes say, do you have dialysis rituals? But it's
I
supposed to say, do
was
you
going
have
to ask
I
you
saw
about
that. I
what
saw
you
that.
meant by
Yeah.
dialysis ritual.
My
I have
autocorrect,
dialysis rituals.
my autocorrect has been on some sort of like a tear to ruin my life, maybe. I texted Kate earlier that I was going to make myself a cup of hot teat.
Oh,
Which was
nice,
not what I meant,
nice.
and it's not in fact a word
where'd
I
you
think
get
I've
that?
ever texted to anyone. I was looking for tea, but instead I got
phone is
something
so,
much more
mischievous.
intriguing.
I thought it was some kind of cool term that
Yeah,
I did not
it's-
know.
I don't
was
know,
like,
it's in a
dialysis
mood.
rituals.
No, I'm so sorry. I feel like that got sent out to a lot of different people, and I really apologize to all of them.
Daily.
Oh my god, that's
Anyway.
hysterical.
Daily rituals.
Oh my gosh.
And
My
what are some
daily
of your
ritual is to
personal-
drink water so I can avoid my
Good advice, really, for
dialysis.
I mean, it's top
Yeah.
top priority.
Top priority. Daily rituals. I write every day. I write every morning in my journal at least one page. So that's an absolute daily practice. I also try to maintain a daily practice, at least one self-care thing. So, for example, today I went in the hot tub. We have a hot tub.
Royalty
I
hot
done it with my
tub.
royalties, which was so cool that I've ever done that. But, yeah.
I am applauding
Royalty hot
because
tub. Exactly.
amazing.
So that a facial steam, a walk, or yoga, or something that tells myself that I love me, because I feel like the truer we are to our own divine essence, the closest we will ever be to God or goddess. So when we are being ourselves and loving ourselves, that is in turn loving the universe. And so another daily practice is constantly listening. So my jewelry chooses me. You know, I love the bling, like a lot of witches, you know, so I've got my earrings and my jewelry out, and I let that choose me. Where am I supposed to go today? So today I'm wearing moonstone for this conversation with you. It just felt like the right stone.
Yeah.
For
And it's a great necklace, by the way.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. And so, so by listening, you know, where I hear sometimes like, oh, the lavender's calling to me, and I'll go out and I'll pluck it. And I don't know why. I don't need to know why. That was one of the things I learned very early on in my practice is if it feels right, you follow it. Like, you know, if you get a message like, go outside, you're like, but it's thundering. You know, it's like, I don't want to. You know, you can make that choice, of course. But also, when we get those directions and follow those nudges, that's kind of another daily practice, is I say yes to my intuition. When my intuition tells me to go do something, I say yes. I don't say why. I say
Right.
yes. And so
okie dokie.
that's kind of, I would imagine, one of my daily practices. And then another one is I have several goddess altars throughout the house, I work with deity. So I have in my studio, I have a Kali. I live in the mountains, and so we have a beautiful wood stove. That one's dedicated to Bridget, you know, a goddess of fire. So every time I light it, I say a prayer to her. And so it's so seamless into my life, like finding out like, oh, now I am doing witchcraft. This is it. This is the moment of witchcraft. You know, that's not what it just is seamless. It's just part of, and again, I feel like a big part of that is listening. I feel like magic, we often think it's about, you know, rote memorization or study of the tools, the correspondences, the directions, the colors, the crystal, all those different things. But for me, it's about a relationship with the tools and the colors that I'm already resonating with. Yes, you build it up, but it's like a garden. You know, you don't go to the garden shop. Well, someone might. I don't like to go to the garden shop and buy 20 plants because I don't feel like I can tend to them all. You know, I get maybe 5 at a time, and then I have a relationship with each one. And so the same thing is true for me with my magical practice. I don't want it to ever feel like I'm being, you know, a negligent witch or something because I didn't, you know, fill that water, Kali's water all the time. Like, oh my God, it went empty. Well, yes, but I'm also a ritual herbalist, and I'm always gathering herbs. Right now, we're gathering rose hips. Before that, it was lilac. So at my Kali altar, there is lilac infused oil. So that's, and I go and I shake it every once in a while. But I do it based on the energy versus a strict schedule. I guess that's the best way to answer.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I love all that. That's so great. I do find myself challenging sometimes my intuition. I love that, not asking why, because I think that's so important, because I will get signs or feelings and I'll be like, do it again though, because can you I just need to be sure, or I'll do that, but why, or maybe can you do it like really big this time though, so I'm really not like imagining it. I have like all that cognitive dissonance, so that's something I'm working on.
Well,
Just
and I've done
accepting
that.
it happens.
Exactly. I've done that before, because when I was, I remember when I was nursing my first child, and I thought I was going crazy just because your whole everything is about somebody else and you don't have you anymore, and you kind of lose your sense of groundedness. And so I remember I was reading Carlos Castaneda, and he was talking about the fly being the gateway to the spirit world. So I said, okay, universe, whenever I'm spot on, like this is a message I have to listen to because I'm so confused which way I'm going. Whenever a message from the universe is coming through and it's very clear and I need to listen to it, send me a flying object in front of my face. Like a fly, a bug, a butterfly, whatever, a gnat. It doesn't matter. Just send me something that, and then when it flies in front of me, I'll know I'll know, yes, I'm supposed to listen to that. Or another one is, I've said, okay, when there's a coincidence that I need to pay attention to, an omen that has presented itself, because I am clairaudio, I hear. So since that's my way of interpreting information from the spirit world, I'll say when I'm onto something, or the spirit world is trying to talk to me, omens are presenting themselves, nudges are coming in, and I'm not paying attention, send me a bell. The phone will ding, somebody else's phone will ding, whatever happens, it'll happen on the TV or whatever it is. You can make these pacts, of course, with the universe at any given time. And, like a muscle, intuition grows with use and with trust. So each time that ding goes, you go, okay, what was it? What was it? Someone just said something about protection. Or
I'm listening.
Or yeah, exactly. You start like going, what?
I love that. Yes, I love. It's like you're setting communication boundaries too at the same time, so that it's like a translation shortcut. That's right.
Right. Because we all read energy, right? We all can, when we walk into a room, we can all feel whether there is tension in the room or if there's joy in the room. Anyone can do that. You don't have to be a witch to recognize, because 80-90% of our communication is nonverbal. And so we can feel that energy. So it's no different, than recognizing our own intuition speaking to us. And I always like to ask people, or ask them to think and consider for themselves, where do they feel it physically? When you feel a happy feeling or that you're onto something, is that like, does the back of your head, does it tingle? Is your stomach, does it feel like woo, you drop like you were in an elevator? What is it that your body tells you so that you can interpret those other signs? And I think that's really important, because you got to do it with little things, right? Like just little moments, recognizing. So that way, when you come to the big moments in life, when you really need to know whether or not it's working with this partner, do you leave this job? Do you continue on this project? Do you push? Do you sit back? What do you do? If you ask yourself in small moments, you can answer better in the big moments. It's kind of like how you practice for a sport. And then the minute you get on the soccer pitch, all that practice has to kick in, because then it's just automatic. Then you're just reacting.
Yeah, that makes
so
so
much
much
sense.
sense.
To respond and consider. Yeah. So I think that's really important. And then it's individual for everybody because, you know, people get stuck. They're like, oh, you said my hands were supposed to tingle, but it was the back of my arms. It's like, that's okay. It can be whatever it is for you.
That's really great.
I had an experience recently. This is a little bit to the left of what we're talking, or just like a side
Let's
note,
go.
but it's making me think about it, and
It's
I just
all
want
good.
to share it because I feel like I want I want to share it. But I had like I don't really read horoscopes a lot, or like, you know, unless I'm looking at something very specific to me. I find, you know, like the, you know, by sign horoscopes in the newspaper not that helpful a lot of the time. But I happened to see one that was for me that said a few weeks ago that I was going to spend the whole week, or that, you know, whoever was reading this was going to spend the whole week working on something really hard, and it was going to be futile, but you had to do it anyway and go through it. And I was working on something really hard, and I was like, no. And you know when you know, you've seen it, and you're like, no. And I got like an email in the last few days where it was like, none of it did, and not a single thing I worked on that week panned out. It was like,
sometimes you just don't want to hear
but
it.
also
Sometimes
like,
you just don't want
that
the truth.
sucked. Yeah. Yeah, and it was like, there was
Right,
nothing
or
else I
like-
could have done. But you hear it and you go, yeah.
No.
Right.
And you don't know why the timing worked out that way. Why it was like, okay, it was important. Well, why was it important? We're not going to tell you yet.
Yeah.
Well, why not?
And that's the thing, is like, it's so recent that it's like, but like, and the whole picture was, you know, it's not going to go anywhere, but you have to have done this. And it's like, all right, well, we'll find out. I'll throw another year at it.
Yeah, exactly. And you finally get to that point, you know, you say this as you're coming of age with the spirituality, like, everything happens for a reason. The universe has my back. You've got all these like sayings. And then when it goes wonky, you're like, well, I don't know whose back you got now. It's not mine.
Yeah.
And then, you know, cut to 5, 10, 20 years later, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I get it. That's
Yeah.
why. Because I didn't, like, for example, I have been, like I was mentioning earlier, I lived on the same land as my family for 200 years. They arrived in Southern California in the late 1700s, and I wanted to write a book about the old California lifestyle, the ranchos, the fandangos, riding on horseback, and this whole thing. But when I first learned about them, I was glorifying them and not seeing them as the colonists that they were. It was kind of the unfortunate truth that I didn't want to look at. And meanwhile, I was looking for a Native American grandmother because I felt so close to something so indigenous and pure. It was from Mexico. I thought it might be from California. I would have been canceled 5 times over in next lifetime if I had pursued the book, given the information that was available 25 years ago. Now there's more information about these ancestors. Now I know them with a lot more nuances, and I have friends who are indigenous California that I can talk to about their example, their experience, and I can give a much better story when I go to write this ancestral story that I'm going to write. But if I had done it before, it would have been half baked, and I didn't have enough information. I grew up the first to pass, so I really wanted to have this connection to my Latino roots. I really wanted to feel deep into, you know, this idea of the fandangos and wearing the mantillas and where all the, you know, castañeras and all the different things, you know, that I can barely pronounce, but because we assimilated. I wanted to like crawl back into the womb of my Mexicanness, and it wasn't working out because I wasn't letting go of my perceived notion of things. I wasn't allowing the full truth to be expansive. And it was only just recently that I visited this castle in Spain and kind of decolonized my mind right before George Floyd happened, right before the pandemic and being deep inside of ourselves, where I got to see where I was looking at things in the wrong way. And it wasn't until enough time revealed and my ego softened that I could hear the other side and present a full story. So yeah, I didn't know for the longest time why this story wasn't going anywhere. You know, meanwhile, my spirits are like trying to like delete the files.
Yeah, it's like, quick. It's one thing thing to hear the intuition and another to sort of like accept that it might not be on your timeline or it might not be the thing that you think you want in this moment.
Right.
Yeah, we're on your terms. Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, no,
Yeah.
no. And then if you've had a success, in your spiritual, manifestation or spell work or whatever you want to call it, then you kind of feel like you can do that negotiation with spirit. You're like, well, what if I donate some time at the local kids' school? Then can I have the thing I want?
I did all
sacrifice.
the things.
Yeah. I checked all the boxes. Yeah.
Now can I have what I want? No.
Yeah,
And
exactly. Not yet.
Yeah, I think so much about like this is, I mean, we've learned a lot about it through our journey with this podcast too, that I think a lot of practice is also all the things you've been saying, but also like surrendering control a bit too, right? It's about kind of letting we had a psychic medium on who's a friend of ours, and she refers to herself as a straw, and I think about that a lot, just kind of like being a vessel, being like a channel, and letting energy kind of come and flow through you, and not trying to manhandle and like muscle and control everything to be exactly the way you want, and just kind of trusting that you are being taken care of, you are looked out for, and that I don't know, I have a Sagittarius sun, so like I do ultimately think things will work out in the end.
Yes,
I can't shake that.
No,
optimism, but like
my Sagittarius in Mercury, so I speak it all the time. All the optimism.
Yeah.
And the Tigger that way, for sure.
Yes, Tigger. But and also I think too, what I'm always trying to remind myself is that we assign value. That's such a mortal thing, is like we say things are good or bad, and that's not necessarily how nature looks at things, right? Like nature, we think, oh, that nature is wonderful, but then it also can be really cruel when we see like a baby animal die or get hunted. But it's like, no, there's not right or wrong. There's no morality in nature. It just is like,
Right.
It's cyclical.
Ooh, I love that.
So yeah, all of this is just bringing up a lot of really good, interesting thoughts for me.
So back to grilling you, Jamie.
Yes.
Back to grilling me.
All right, I feel like this is a big question in a lot of ways, so feel free to take this and do whatever you want with it. But what are some lessons that you've learned in your past so far? In a lot of ways, we've already talked about
a lot of them, but any others?
Yeah, any big wisdom you want to pass on? Or small?
Yeah, well, you know what? I think what's really fun is kind of like what we were talking about, just touching on what we were talking about before, is one of my favorite lessons for magic making is something I was taught in my early Wiccan teachings, and that is that there's 4 steps to ask before you manifest it or try to manifest anything or do your spell casting. Because I feel like, doing spell crafting, whether we're speaking with deities or the elements or whatever, we're asking these huge spirits to move the unseen forces in our favor. And sometimes we ask these questions or we do this spell work in a kind of cavalier way because it's just, I want it, I need it, or we're just taken by that need of it. And sometimes it's like, I need rent money, it's a thing you need, but I think the first thing is asking yourself, is the spell necessary? So for me, it's the 4 questions that I learned is the spell necessary? So have you done all the mundane steps? If you want to be a writer, are you taking writing classes? Are you writing daily? If you want to be a witch, are you looking at yourself as the divine who can co-create? Are you making connections with different alive creatures? And then will it serve your highest good? That's also a really important question to ask. Is this thing that you want? Sometimes we want a new wardrobe, for example, but perhaps it serves our higher good because we're going for another job and we need to show to look the part, and then will it harm anyone, including yourself? And that's really important. I really feel like we have to consider, because hurt is one thing. It hurts to learn maybe that you're being selfish, but it harms to not know that if you're running roughshod over everybody.
Yes.
And you keep, losing friends and people because of that. And then finally, are you willing to own the results of your spell work and let it go? Because that's what we were talking about. When you wish for something, you create this big spell. Well, the universe has more ways of looking at something than we do. Like it's the universe is this diamond with these many facets, and we literally, no matter how hard we try, there's one window we're looking out of, and that's our perspective.
Man,
You know,
ain't that
and the
truth.
universe has so many different ways of manifesting something. And then sometimes, you know, I've used this example. I wrote about this in the book. I asked a while ago, or like when my book first came out, I had a very niche publisher, and I wanted I wanted a New York publisher to call me. I wanted them to offer me a big deal. You know, that's what I wanted. And so that's what I did this spell that I wanted a New York publisher to reach out to me. And so right before I was going to a writing conference, right? Like it was all in alignment with what my, parameters are for spellcrafting. And so this New York publisher asked me to write a book about Santeria. Well, I had no experience in Santeria. And I didn't know anybody at the time. There was no internet in the same way that we have it today. There was no way for me to experience the religion. And so I got what I wanted, but I wasn't willing to own the results because it would have taken me out of my integrity to write something I didn't know about. Especially a secret initiate religion, you know? And so, so that to me is one of the important lessons I learned, because we always say, oh, be specific. The universe is listening, but I think it's also really important that we let it go, because what happened was I went to this editor and I said, I am so sorry. I want to write this book. I really do. I prayed for you. I did spells. I lit candles for you, but I don't know enough. And she said, I love your integrity. And so we passed on that book, but 2 years later, she recommended me to another editor, and I got my first novel written because another editor wanted me to write a book. So it came around. I got the book. I got to write a book, but maybe not that book. So it was still a New York publisher. We don't know how things are going to turn out. And I think that's one of the more important things, is allowing ourselves to feel that wonder about what unfolds versus the disappointment that it didn't fit our picture. Because sometimes it's more, for me at least, with spellcrafting and magic work, it's more about the feeling I want to feel when this thing has come true. Not what it looks like, because we can often, attract maybe a good looking partner, but he treats you like crap. Or she treats you like crap, and so you thought that's what you wanted, but what you really wanted was to feel loved or feel secured or share a life with somebody. And so I feel like that's really, really one of the most important things. And that's one of my big takeaway lessons, I believe, and that the universe, like you were saying, Kate, I was like, ooh, trying to get your name right. I'm like, yeah, that's it. You got it. Don't second guess yourself. That the universe really does conspire in our favor. It really does. And the more we look for that, the it'll happen. The more we look for it, it's more likely to happen. It's more likely for us to see those miracles, because people ask me that about my book. Is it a beginner book? Yes. Is it a book for older people? Yes. And part of that is because if you've been in the craft and practicing for the last 25 years, then you need to remember how to be in wonder again about magic. When it first happens and your first spell comes true, it's like, woohoo! And then the next one happens, you're like, yeah, I can manifest now. I just don't know what I want to manifest.
Yeah. Now I got to direct this thing.
Yeah, exactly. And so finding, that's why I like to work with the current of collective consciousness with the universe. Connie, my mentor, talked about how Wicca, because that was our practice of witchcraft, was Wicca, is an agricultural religion. It's about nature. It's following that guidance. In fall, we let go. In winter, we rest. In spring, we birth. In summer, we bloom. And if we can follow that, and that's why I think autumn is one of the harder holidays, because it means you really have to let go. And I remember asking somebody once, I'm like, so I'm looking at this person that I was going to marry, and I felt like I really envisioned him to be a certain way, and he wasn't showing up how I wanted him to be. And someone said to me, you have to let go. And I'm like, And I got this vision because, the universe speaks in pictures, right? It speaks a lot of times in images and pictures. And I got this vision of the monkey bars, and I go, you mean you have to let go like the monkey bars where you have to push off, let go? Like really let go? Because that's a lot of let go. And I feel like that's the thing with our spell work. We have to really let go. And that's what fall teaches us, is that it's time to let go. And what do you let go of? You let go of stories that you don't want to carry into the winter. You don't want to carry into the dark and stillness some negative thought about a person that you haven't accepted as they are, or an aspect of yourself, or even your situation. We can dream for big things, but unless we take action on this mundane level, it's going to be pretty hard for a mundane existence to happen without steps in this mundane world. So I feel, and following that current, it's like following the current of a river. When you step into the river, if you go with the flow, it's going to take you places, versus if you try to fight it. And that's not to say that if you're doing a banishing spell and it says to do it on a Saturday and it's Wednesday, and you're like, oh, what am I going to do? Then you use the elements of that day. So Wednesday is about communication. So you're communicating your desire. So you add, and then you can even ask your herbs, like, basil, I know that you're often for joy and purification, but right now what I need is to know myself more. So, okay, let's know your joy. Let's know your joy more. That will protect you, is by being so true to yourself that your inner essence is like you swallowed the sunshine and you're just emanating out that light, and nothing can touch it then. Nothing can touch who you are. So I feel like you can always find ways to work with the correspondences and with what nature is giving you, so that you are in that conscious collective and that flow.
Yeah.
That's my lessons.
Thank you.
That's it. I'm taking so many notes. I'm like so inspired to, like, we're approaching Mabon, right? Like, I'm like so excited. I'm like,
I'm gonna let so much shit
We're gonna
go.
burn shit.
Oh my!
We're gonna let so much go for the winter.
It's really funny. The other day, Mabon is my least favorite because it scares me so much. This holiday,
How come?
Because, well, actually, I wrote a poem. So I'm going to read you my poem.
Ooh.
If that's fun.
This is the perfect
Okay.
manifestation of the answer to that.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, so, Mabon, you are so elusive, and I suppose you frighten me the most, and I understand you the least. Is it the fear of letting go to wild abandon and paying the price later on? You are the Eucharist, the sacrifice, and the harvest. You are death and celebration in the most flesh to nothing experience, and someday back again, the fall king losing his life. And then I believe adding to that is Pomona, the harvest queen. Why do I distrust your gifts? Is this the apple and the goddess? Because if you've seen with an apple, you cut it one way, it forms a heart. You cut it across, and it forms the five pointed pentacle, the four elements with spirit, and the heart energy. That's the goddess to me, because for me, when I say the goddess, I want to explain that it's not about bashing the male or the divine dudes out there, the divine guys doing their hard work. I had sons. Very valid. I had sons that that I raised in a goddess tradition. Because we live in such a patriarchy, that pushing the goddess to get up to equal standards feels like we're favoring her, but we're just giving her her due. And that we have worshipped her, and that so many of our ancient figurines are of the vulva or of her breasts or her birthing hips, the life giver that she is. And so I just find that, working with that energy, that divine feminine energy, is how I express my divine essence, because of the body I'm living in and the mothering that I do and the nurturing I do with my healing. These are all goddess principles. Anyone can have them, of course. Anyone can activate them. And this is where I put my energy. This is what's important to me. And Pomona, the harvest queen, she's always giving, right? Right now, my apple trees are just shaking, and there's all this abundance. At the same time, there's this sacrifice. you know, where we are know that we're going to be giving up these things. And a sacrifice is sacred. Feis is offering. It's a sacred offering. So sometimes our spell work requires the sacred offering of giving up that we don't deserve it to believe that we do deserve it.
Ooh.
And that's, to me, you know, really important. It's really important, a thing to really work on our deservedness. You know, it's not about earning it. As long as you're breathing, you're a child of the divine, period. Mm-hmm. You know, how you live your life is your choice.
Yeah.
But we all come from stardust and the divine essence. So
yeah.
That.
Wow. Yeah, it's yeah, that's definitely an element that I feel like we don't talk about a lot with like Babon, which is like there's the side of it that is the harvest, and then the like beginning of the like going into the quiet and the darkness, but and like the letting go, but also talking about the harvest queen. I really like
yeah, because I think that's an important part.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a nice extra layer on there. So we talked a little bit about the book already.
Absolutely.
I want to make sure we get this because the thing we want to talk about, you know, the most, of course, is also your book. Okay, so the name of the book again is not in front of my face anymore.
A Box of Magic.
A Box of Magic. I knew this an hour ago.
Head.
A Box of Magic.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Can you tell us just a little bit more about the new book? I believe it's about 23 years after. So Connie passed away, right? Officially.
Yes, officially she did.
And sometime thereafter, you got a box of her literal magic. In a lot of ways.
Correct. Yes, that's what happened. So what happened was she had been gone
a box
for 15
of magic.
Years.
15
and
23 pounds of stuff.
23 pounds. 23 was involved. It's the 23rd year. There was 23 involved.
It was in there.
My birthday's on the 23rd. 23rd is important.
Me too.
So, oh, neat. Yeah, so a 5. See, a teacher. That's when you just have to do it. So in any case, yeah, numerology, astrology, those were always a big part of my growing up. But in any case, I was on a book signing tour for the Book of Spells, my previous book, and I went to a reading, and the reader said, oh, there's a spirit being here who wants to talk to you. And he starts describing my mentor. He says, oh, she's got cat-like eyes. She's got a pixie haircut. She's, you know, I'm like, oh, that's Connie. And he goes, she's laughing now. I'm like, yeah, she does. She laughed a lot. And then he said, well, she wants you to get a picture of her and take her on your next book signing tour. So I said, okay, you know,
All
like
right.
again,
Easy
like,
enough.
okay. Yeah. And so I put out a request on Facebook, and her daughter reached out to me. Now, her daughter and I had talked a couple of times when Connie passed. And so, Alexa, you know, reached out and sent me a picture, and then the pandemic hit a couple of months later, and she had been going through her garage like everyone else, and reached out to me and said, I've asked the entire family, we'd like to give you Mom's collection. All her teaching curricula, all her studies, things from like 1971 School of Wicca to the ESP, the Institute of ESP, all these different really, really ancient old, I mean, it was so funny. If I tried to include some of the stuff that they talked about, we're all so, we've progressed so far in 50 years. Like there's a lot of people that know that stuff, so I couldn't really do that. But there was also in there like handwritten hand fasting rituals and invocations for Hecate and Hermes and all this, just because we used to do, you know, 23 years ago, there was a lot of plays. There was a lot of enactment for pagan rituals and whatnot. So it was a way where like, you would be the harvest queen. You would be Mabon. You would talk to the ritual coveners about what you represent and what's important to learn from you and this kind of a thing. So you really bring that invoking of the deity with you. So in any case, so I got this huge box of magic. I didn't know what to do with it. I was completely overwhelmed. And then one day, after a year and a half, I heard Connie say, tell them about us. And I thought, ooh, because most witchcraft books are correspondence books. They're nonfiction books, you know, and if you find the fiction books, it's more on the fantasy than a real life witch really living it, you know, and I really felt like what was the thing that was missing was mentorship, because a lot of, social media made it so that a lot of people could learn about witchcraft, but then they were learning through memes, and memes
Yeah.
don't have experiences. People have experiences, mentors have experience. And so that's really what I wanted to bring it back to. Not to say that like you can't practice if you can't find a mentor, but why not ask for one? Why not
Yeah.
look for one? Why not maybe use the elements and say, oh, I need a mentor who's going to teach me the magical studies. So you created an altar for air, or I want someone who will invoke my fire, or help me relate to my emotions and my feelings, or help me ground with my ancestors. You could create different altars to attract a mentor based on the elements. And so these are the things that I would make up, and I would sit there with her picture and we would write it together and I would dream about it. And so finally, after a long time, we ended up writing this book together where it weaves narration and memoir and rituals and spells, and it's all based on the hero's journey, because I love Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, where we take an adventure and we take that courage to answer the call to adventure. When the spirits are calling you and you answer, yes, I'm listening, what can I do? And so Connie is now, on this book signing tour with me, just like she wanted to do.
She said
And
next
so
book tour.
She said, that's what I want to do. And so that's how it came true. So she, we worked together to create this spell. And what I love is that at the end of reading it, people feel like they were taught by two priestesses. And they did get to know and have this person who would love them and hold them, because not all of us get that, elder woman or elder person to hold us and to tell us that we're doing a great job and guide us when our steps are off, or tell us you're being an ass when you need to be told you're being an ass. And that's what a good mentor does, is there's that balance. And of course you have to listen to your own intuition. You don't just go listening to everybody. But when you find somebody who, whatever it is, whether it's music or writing or your job, for the longest time, all through my 20s, I always wanted a mentor in my work jobs, in my public relation and marketing jobs. I wanted someone to take me under their wing. And my hope with the book, with the Box of Magic, was that the reader would feel that they had been held in their magical practice.
It's really
because
beautiful.
it is so solitary. And that's what I really wanted. I wanted people to feel held and to feel
and it's so true that
we gotcha.
Yeah.
Go on.
No, I was just going to say it's so true what you were saying about not all, but many of the books, but also a lot of the social media, even when it isn't a meme, even when it's a video or something, it's one person's voice talking to you. And instead, you're sort of modeling what it can be, which is more of a relationship. It doesn't have to be, I hear a lecture and then I go and deal with that on my own. It's, it can be a communication, just like it is with the universe and the world and the spirit. And all
but
that.
more direct than the universe's languages sometimes, right, Kate?
Right. Yeah.
What does that message mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So a dragonfly has flown in front of me and you're like running for your books. What does it mean? What does it mean?
But can you play back one more time? Let me be triple sure. Right. I love this.
Exactly.
I think that's it made me emotional. That's such a universal, at least for me, inner child, deep carnal desire to be held. So I love that. Also, I love that you were able to write this together through the veil. I think what a beautiful experience. What an incredible gift. I mean, that's so great of you both to share with everyone. That's great.
Well, yeah, and now I don't get to say the universe doesn't have my back anymore, right? Because here my mentor pierced the veil. She
had a mission.
She was obviously
this is what's happening. You're along for the ride. I love it.
Exactly.
She has such personality in that.
Oh my God, I could hear. Oh, I know. Yeah, she does. It was really, and then what's really crazy is that in this photo, this is a picture of her. There's actually Alexa's in the picture as well, and there's a picture of my mom and I that is almost identical, with the mom looking right into the camera and the baby going, 2, 3, 4, years old, just going, what's going on? It was just kind of this look. But, I feel like we both got to have each an experience of her. And, Alexa has been with me this whole time. She has the book. She's been getting them for her kids. I was even able to record the audio book.
great.
So it's also going to be on Audible,
Oh,
and I
that's
was able to narrate it.
amazing.
And then it was really
yay.
funny because it was so cool. I went down to Long Beach to do it. I went by her house. I took grass from her house and I put it on the altar in the recording studio. I went by the old where I went to school for witchcraft. And then right before I lost my voice. Right before I was supposed to record. And this is like you lock down the hours. It's a big deal, right? The publisher's paying, all this stuff is going down. And I'm just drinking honey, like it's got nothing, and I keep doing all these different things and I'm waiting for the universe, like my throat to kick in, because I wanted to have my voice talking and then I wanted to have Connie's voice. And I remember she had a husky voice. So the funny thing is my voice was so husky. It was like this the whole time, darling. And then I would talk myself and then I would be like her. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then the Airbnb I stayed at, you know how elementary schools have like those cups that they'll put in, like they'll have their mascot on it, on their fences where they'll like spell out something. It spelled out "Go Husky Pride," like right by the Airbnb. So
That's hilarious.
Like, okay, and she's
That's
hilarious.
beautiful.
She always does. I can't. It's going to be more and more as I go on. In personal invitations and what I want to say, book signing tours and whatnot, and go to different places to see what tricks she'll come up with there, because I feel like she's working a lot of
She's
magic
happy
on
to
the
become
other
real
side.
for the sequel.
Yeah, obviously.
Amazing. Well, so how
Right.
can people find you, follow you, and then obviously you said the book will be sold wherever books are sold, but I'm sure people would love to like learn more about you and follow you and see your other books as well. So how can people get in touch?
I'm at jamiedella.com. So JAMIEDELLA.com. And Jamie Della Writes on Instagram, and I'm just starting on TikTok, so come check me out there because I've got very few followers. I need more. And
TikTok's hard.
and then I also do yeah, exactly. I also do a newsletter for the new and the full moon with different rituals and just kind of a lot of just checking in what's going on and being real as real as I can. Like I have a Virgo moon, so this last new moon really just gave me a slapping, and I'll talk about that, right? Like, gosh, does anyone else feel like they're licking their wounds, and maybe they like the taste of their wounds a little too much, just throwing that out there. Oh, not you? Oh yeah, me either.
Just me.
Yeah, exactly. So I try to be as realistic as possible, because I've been practicing this witchcraft for 25 years, and there are seasons that I'm not as tapped in and other ones that I am, and I feel like that ebb and flow needs to be part of our witchcraft practice without it being wrong that we are deep in it sometimes and we've got this incredible altar for this holiday, and the next one you're like, gosh, I still haven't taken down that sun and it's January. Do you think maybe I'll just have an ancestor altar all year? That's what I meant to do. So find me on jamiedella.com and on the social medias, and you can go through my contact and ask me questions. I don't mind. I've been, answering questions about witchcraft where people would find me for 23 years, and I'm happy to help people, happy to give them any advice that they want, because why not? It was freely given to me for, a coffee and a scone, and now I want to share.
Oh,
well,
that's
very generous. Yes. And this has been so lovely. I think we should draw an oracle card though and see what messages.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Okay. So I brought the my Kuan Yin oracle deck.
Beautiful.
By Alana Fairchild. And so I like oracle decks because for myself, and if this is true for anybody else, then you'll have somebody else who does it the same way, is that the major arcana are very obvious to me. I really get them, but the minor deck, I'm always struggling. I have tried for years to memorize the minor arcana, and it just doesn't stick, and so
we've done a whole episode by episode, like by house series, breaking, and we still My husband pulled a card the other day, and he was
Yeah.
like, "What does the Six of Wands mean?" I was like, "I
Yeah.
can't even think about that.
I still have to look
it
them
I
up
don't know."
sometimes. Yeah, a lot of the time.
So, okay. So, and I like to do things a couple different ways, you know, like sometimes we fan it out, we fan out the cards and we feel for the heat or the cold or someone that's hiding underneath. I have a tendency, I always
I
knock.
like that.
I always knock
Yeah.
on the cards, like, hello, I'm here, you know, and I always just recognize, even though, like the other day I went to a sound bath and I chose a card, and it was something about envisioning your future the way you want it to be, and I was having a hard time with my present moment. I'm like, I don't like that card, so I picked another one, and it was about my future again. I'm like, okay, fine.
Yeah,
I'll tend
usually
to
if
my
I try to
future.
redraw, I'm just gonna get the same answer. Just
they're
in
like,
a different angle.
"Keep trying to double down, bitch."
I know. And they're like, that was such a nice try of yours, but you know what? It's not going to work. Okay, there it
Yeah.
is. Okay, sorry. So I have the dance unveiling.
Ooh.
The dance unveiling. So here's the picture.
Beautiful.
This is Alana Fairchild. She is an amazing artist. So I'll just read a little bit of this because I know it'll probably be somewhat long. But the dance unveiling. There's a situation in your life that is about to reveal itself. Like the book. With greater clarity.
That was my first thought too.
With greater clarity. Just like sand shifting, the picture will soon be clear and quite different to how it once appeared to you. The clarity will bring you great relief and confirmation of your intuition. Be patient and allow the revelation to come to you at the perfect time. Often what we think we know is only a small part of the big picture. With some more information, what we think is the truth can shift, sometimes dramatically, and reveal a completely different reality. Sometimes we really imagine a situation, person, place, or think and feel that is the only way, and not quite at all. The only way, and only to find out that it is not quite that way after some time and some involvement has passed. There is an important situation in your life right now that is still unfolding, and you have yet to perceive it fully. It is safe for you to be patient and curious and trust what you feel is unfolding now. I feel like that's really important. I mean, yes, of course, my first thought was the book, but I feel like it's also speaking to what we were saying earlier, that when spells or manifestation isn't on our time schedule or manifesting in the exact way that we want it to, that we find ourselves being very frustrated. But the universe is a universe, one song. It's a dance. So the dance isn't over yet, and it will be revealed. And that is waiting for that information to come, allowing the universe to do its song, to allow for, when you are ready, open your eyes and know that it may take a moment for you to see things all as they are, but to trust in the flow, because we need to trust the ebb as much as the flow. When we trust, when the money's coming in, when the love's coming in, and when it's quiet, we don't always. But the universe, the dance of Kuan Yin's grace, brings not only the revelation, but also opportunity and resolution.
Wow.
So I like this card because Kuan Yin for me is one of my first goddesses that I've ever worked with, because the idea of compassion. As a Capricorn, I'm very hard on myself. So learning compassion was very, very important to me. And so that's why I have that Oracle deck. So that's how I choose them. Another Oracle deck I love is the Ganesha deck. What is my obstacle right now? So, where can I have more compassion for myself? So all the different cards in the Oracle decks, I feel like it's so important to choose the ones that really speak to us, right? And to trust that. Like, if everybody loves some moon Oracle deck, but you don't, that's okay. It doesn't speak to you then, allowing that to be your truth.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for all your great questions.
No, thank you. This was such a...
Will you take a photo of that beautiful card for us,
Yes.
by the way, and we'll post it on the socials as well. Thank you so much for...
Yeah.
I
Thank you
took
for
so many
everything.
notes.
This was
I'm
so wonderful. Yeah. Very excited to read possibly several of your books.
Yes, probably.
Aww, thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Yay!
We're going to post all of Jamie's info and how to reach her website, all about the Box of Magic, that book that's just being released. on our Instagram at Witchcast Podcast. You can also find us at witchcastpodcast.com and email us if you have any questions,
You can always
comments,
email
or
us.
concerns at witchcastpodcast@gmail. And if you like this conversation and you want to hear more or whatever, you just want to pass along some good energy, you can give us a review and a rating. That really helps other people find us, and we appreciate it so much.
Yes. Yeah. And until next time.
Hex
Yeah!
'Cause it's Witchcast.